I'm going to show you how to make a vegetable dish using butternut squash, Yukon Gold potatoes, onions, apple, and sauerkraut. And we're going to be making this as an example of a prebiotic and probiotic recipe. So to start, I wanted to show you how to prepare the butternut squash. So as you can see, I've cut it into 4 pieces. This was the whole squash. I started by cutting off the little top so that I didn't have to cut the knife through this stem, which can be a little difficult. And then the next thing I'm going to do is scoop out the seeds. So I'm just going to take a spoon and just gently scrape them out like that. And then the next thing that you can do is just peel off the skin of the squash. Just be very, very careful. Now you can, if you want, grill these on the barbecue. It'll soften them up and the skin comes off very nicely. But once you have all that off, I'm not going to make you watch me peel this entire squash. You can then just cut the pieces into chunks. And what size chunk is up to you. So again, it's a little easier. These are smaller pieces. So that's a nice size right there. Okay, so I'm going to do all that off camera, so you don't have to watch me do it. I just wanted to show you how to do it. And then you can see you have nice little squash pieces. So we have our squash pieces cut up now. And as you can see, I also have some Yukon Gold potatoes here, and we have left the skins on the Yukon Gold potatoes because we want that fiber. So we have about 2 to 3 cups of squash here. We have about 1 to 2 cups of potatoes. We have about 3/4 of a cup of chopped onions, and we have 2 tablespoons of olive oil with some garlic that's been crushed and mixed in with it. And there's no significance to it being mixed in. I just am saving a dish, that's all. And then we have our sauerkraut, which we are going to use later. And we have our green apple, which we'll use later. We also have some thyme, some dried thyme, and sea salt and pepper for seasoning it later. Okay, so what we have here for our prebiotic and our probiotic, we have prebiotic inulin fiber in the squash. We have resistant starch, which is another prebiotic in the potato. We have our prebiotic inulin fiber and FOS in the garlic and in the onions. And we also have probiotic in the form of sauerkraut. The apple is also prebiotic, and we're going to leave the skin on for even more fiber. And of course, the thyme is going to aid digestion because it's one of those culinary herbs that helps with digestion. Now I've preheated the oven to 400 degrees, and there's not much to this. We're just going to put everything into the baking dish with the exception of the sauerkraut and the apple. And we're just going to put our olive oil and garlic in there. We're going to add about a teaspoon of thyme. You don't have to be measuring this out. You just do this, eyeball it. It's fine. And then we're going to take a spoon and we're just going to mix this together. Get it all coated with the olive oil. And we're going to bake it probably for about a total time of 30 minutes. However, what we're going to do is we're going to put this in the oven for 15 minutes, and then we're going to come back and we're going to add the apple and let it bake for another 15 minutes. Now, the more you spread out the vegetables, the more when they bake in the oven, they roast and get crispy. So it depends how you like it. You can have them, keep them soft if they're close together like this, or you can use a bigger dish and that'll make them crispier. Okay, so this is ready to go into the oven. All right, it's been about 15 minutes, and as you can see, it's starting to cook. And so what we're going to do, we're just going to quickly give this a little bit of a stir because the olive oil likes to sink to the bottom, and so we want to, keep the potatoes and the squash covered. So we've just done that. And now what we're going to do is add the apple. So what I have here is sucanat, which is basically sugar cane that's been juiced and crystallized. So it has all of the nutrients that come with sugar cane, so lots of vitamins and minerals. And we're just going to put in about a teaspoon. And you don't have to do this, but it's just nice to give it a little extra sweetness. And we're just going to mix up the apples, and then we're going to put them into the dish and then mix them in. You want to make sure they get coated with the olive oil as well. Okay, so this is going to go back into the oven now. Okay, so this is now done, and you can test it just by putting, you can see the fork goes in nicely into the squash. And if I do that to a potato, you'll see the same thing. So this is ready to go. The apples are also soft too, see? And so we're going to we're going to season this with sea salt and pepper. Just a little bit. And remember that pepper aids the absorption of the vitamins and minerals and phytonutrients that are in the food. So if you like pepper, it's a great thing to add. Okay, so now this is ready to serve. So all we're going to do is we're going to put some of this onto a plate. And then we're going to top it with some of the sauerkraut. And this way you're getting the benefit of the sauerkraut. And then when you go to eat it, you can get some of the sauerkraut with the squash and the potatoes and the apples, because they go really, really nicely with all three of those ingredients. So you get a little bit of sauerkraut, and then you get a little bit of the vegetables, and it's a really great prebiotic and probiotic dish. Now, if you want, you could steam up some green vegetables and throw these in, like some kale or some zucchini. If you were going to do zucchini, I would put them into this pan at about the same time I put in the apples. You could also put red peppers in at the same time. So they cook about the same amount of time. They don't need as much time as the squash or the potato. And as I said, you could steam some broccoli, you could steam some spinach, some kale for some green vegetable, and throw that in if you like just before serving. And if you want to complete the meal, then this is meant to be a side dish. So you can serve this along whatever entree that you're serving. It could be chicken or beef or whatever. You could grill it, you could bake it, whatever you want to do with your protein source. If you want a vegetarian protein source, then I would either throw some cooked legumes in there, maybe some aduki beans or chickpeas or kidney beans or turtle beans or whatever you like. Or again, you could just sprinkle some hemp seeds on top when you're serving, because that is also a high source of protein. It's got some good EFAs. And so it's not hard to complete this and make it a full meal. So I hope you like this, and I hope you give it a try.